the thing that stinks is they're halfway into a season where they're paying their franchise quarterback $53 million a year, and you don't have him. And everybody wants to see him because there's no 30 for Purdy, and there hasn't been any 30 without Purdy.
I'm going to be completely honest with you, though, and please do not take this personally. I've spent a good portion of the day trying to figure out how Kyle Shanahan can hold a 15-minute press conference and the assembled media does not try 15 different angles on who's playing quarterback. We've arrived at this like complete blasé attitude over who's playing quarterback. And I'm like, you think in Baltimore they're just skipping that subject? Like, what's going on there, Cam?
No. I think first of all, everybody's fatigued because it's been a month, right? I mean, in terms of Brock not being on the field. And it's just, the fact that he was still limited going in. If he was full practice, then you'd be like, all right, so then your radar changes, right? But it's been the same. However, the press conference ended with Kyle being asked about it. And, and he actually, those were his best quotes when he said, I know you guys want it black and white, but it's a sensitive issue that nobody knows except for Brock on how his toe is going to respond. Essentially, I mean, you can ask all you want. He's not going to. First of all, if I'm the head coach, I'm not giving you the answer anyways. Because if I'm going to unleash him against the Giants, and I'm holding that close to the vest until kickoff, I owe you no reason to tell you that. But the NFL always wants to know who the starting quarterbacks are. And I think the other side of it is everybody's kind of on the understanding that, okay, if it's Mac Jones, that's acceptable. They can win with Mac Jones because they won 4 of the 6 starts with Mac Jones. And there's other pressing issues like who the heck's going to rush the other team's quarterback. And now you brought in 2 new guys to do so. So tell us about that.
So when you look at the situation, do we know what he was able to do? I know that he spoke, Shanahan did before practice, but coming out of practice, do we know if Brock got first-team reps or if he was relegated to the second team?
Well, somebody's trying to sneak that question into Kyle, and he wasn't going to give you the answer. He just said he's going to get reps. He wouldn't say if they were first team or not. My guess, honestly, is he might get a few reps just to kind of see how he works in. But if they know he's not playing, which they probably do at this point, then they're going to let Mac have most of the first team reps so that he can make sure he's, getting on the right page with these wide receivers who are still so new to the system. And because Ricky Pearsall's not playing, I mean, he hasn't practiced in over a month because of the knee injury. So, I mean, Mac needs as much time as he can to familiarize himself with this offense. And so, until Brock is fully healthy, it's just kind of – and look, and I think everybody's enjoyed the Mac Jones show to an extent because 5 years ago or 4 years ago, nobody wanted him as the quarterback. And now he's kind of this fun project that has delivered some exciting moments. He can scramble a little bit more than we expected. He keeps everything loose and fun. But at the same time, you take a step back, look at the 49er offense, and they're 8 games into the season, and they've yet to score 30 points in a game with either quarterback. And to me, that's really alarming because the offense is what was supposed to carry the 49ers through the defense's growing pains. And those growing pains showed up strong in that first half in Houston. And the offense was nowhere to be seen because they were only on the field for 5 minutes because they went 3 and out until the very end of the half.
Cam, I guess this is what I would say. And why I totally get that everyone's fatigued. I get that everyone in the room knows more than we do on the outside. But you got to give me that there has been some confusion over both of these injuries, Brock and Ricky, over the last few weeks. Diana Rossini put out a national report that the Niners are expecting Brock to be good to go in Houston. And now here we are the following week, and it's still kind of – so there's clearly something to be said for – these injuries are lasting longer than they originally thought. No?
But that's why they don't give timelines. I mean, that's why the Niners haven't publicly given any timelines. Reporters can speculate all they want. We were all speculating that he would be back for Houston. And then everybody said, well, maybe not Houston or New York because it's on artificial surface, even though the Niners will never say that because it makes them look stupid if they say, we don't want to play on artificial turf. It's fine. I'm not concerned about it. Obviously, every game's important. You're going against a 2-6 Giants team. This is not like we need to have Brock Purdy on because you have to beat the Giants because this is going to come down to playoff tiebreaker implications. This is a team that you should beat with or without Brock Purdy, with or without Ricky Pearsall. This is a game where Christian McCaffrey has to get back to what he did against Atlanta, run for over 100, get a couple tutties. The defense has to, like, bow up against another, like, junior varsity NFL offense and then move on.
And when you look at what went wrong against Houston, Cam, what do you think can be fixed against the Giants defense that on paper, they don't stop the run very well, but against the pass, they look to be every bit as good as what Houston was?
You bring up a very good point, Mr. Dibley, because Brian Burns has 10 sacks. You got Kayvon Thibodeau and Abdul Carter out there. So that tells me don't pass the ball, run the ball like away from these guys the way the Eagles did, but it's never that easy. And sometimes they overthink it and say, we'll show you we can pass the ball. I would prefer them just to run it and get those three premier pass rushers out of the game. Dexter Lawrence came under fire from one of the Giants, like Hall of Famers this week. So there's a lot of attention on that defensive front. And the only way to get around that is not to let them sack Mac Jones or Brock Purdy and create a takeaway, because the Niners, that's going to even the playing field if they're committing turnovers all over that MetLife field.
What about Brandon Ayuk, Cam? Any sense on when his practice window might open?
I tend to judge things when I see guys working on the side with a trainer. And that usually indicates maybe a week or two before they'll open up their IR window. I haven't seen that yet with Brandon. We've obviously seen him freaking a lot through the warm-ups since training camp, ghosting all the wide receiver warm-up drills. He hasn't done as much of that in the last few weeks, but he has done his workouts before the media's out there, and we see him around. I don't know, Dibs. I figured it's going to be a second-half comeback for him. As much as we're all antsy for these guys to rush back, it's only been a year, and it's a serious injury, you know. And it's just like we all are on this. Okay, he's got to be done. He's going to be ready. It's a year. Get him on the field. And then we rip the Niners for rushing guys back and them getting hurt. So, you know what I mean? I mean, because it's on. It's like everybody wants the training staff fired anytime one player gets hurt, and it's football. And then these guys get hurt, and then you want to rush them back on the field because it's professional football and they have a job to do. And it just doesn't work. You can't have it both ways.
Let's go. Grill this guy.
Well, what do you want him to say? I mean, if you were in Shanahan's shoes, I want you to tell me what you would say.
Well, it's not even what Shanahan would say. I just think that we would love to hear.
No.
Okay, fine.
Let him off the hook, Cam.
All right, Cam. Ask the question.
You can't pretend like you're a fake reporter. Tell me if you're Kyle Shanahan, what you're going to say to answer the question on who your quarterback is and if you don't know if Brock Purdy's healthy or not.
Well, it's not to me, Cam. It's more like I'd like to be the reporter. How about you be Kyle?
Well, go ahead. Okay, hold on. First of all, you are allowed to come to a press conference and ask that question. So don't throw reporters under the bus.
No, Cam.
Do not do that.
Cam, listen. No, I can't because I have to be here or I would be. And I'm not even like this.
You have a representative there. Somebody from 95.7 The Game can ask the question.
That's true. And I'll ask them the exact same thing. This is not a personal affront to any of you. It is a surprise to me that I think this is one of the few organizations in football that right now wouldn't have people freaking out about who's playing quarterback. I think it's a very, very big deal. And that's all.
But hold on. It is a big deal. It's the 49ers. And I tell everybody, when I cover the 49ers, there's two beats. There's the quarterbacks, and then there's the team. Everything about the quarterbacks revolves around this franchise thanks to Joe and Steve. The problem is there is no evidential progress with Brock Purdy where you say, okay, he's ready to go. He's been on the practice field for 2.5 weeks. Does that mean he's ready to go? I'm not a doctor. Dr. Tim McAdams is a great doctor with the Niners. He's not talking to us. You know, Kyle can only say so much, and you have to see how he gets through the practice week. The practice week just started. He's not going to answer the question before the first practice that he's healthy enough to go.
No, of course not, but I'm not looking for a definitive answer, Cam. Like, for instance, on the conference call, he said what I thought was some pretty interesting stuff when he was asked that exact question, and he said it's not a long shot. Then we've got to see what's going on during the week. Now it's 48 hours later. It seems to me that someone would say,
but nothing has changed since then. And somebody put the word long shot out there. Kyle's not the one that said, is it a long shot?
Right, I get that.
And then,
I get that.
But hold on. And then the last two questions were, what do you need to see from Brock this week to make a decision and feel confident that he's ready to go?
And he responded. And we played that.
We played that. but he hadn't seen him yet.
Well,
Right?
Cam, there's no way that in 48 hours, Kyle Shanahan is not keeping tabs on what's going on with Brock Purdy.
No, because he hasn't practiced, Mark.
Of course not. I get that. Again, I'm not looking for Kyle to come out and say he's in or he's out. I just think that there are some questions to be asked with regard to where does this sit? Is this going longer than you thought? What's your comfort level? No one asked about Mac, by the way. He had a new injury. That didn't even come up. This isn't a shot at the assembled media. It's also the entire fan base, in my opinion, has arrived at a blasé spot about who the quarterback is. And for me, it's an observation that this is odd. That's all.
It's not. It's the same question that's been asked for 7 weeks. It's all the same stuff. And I'm going to leave you with this. And,
okay.
I love the dialogue. It's all good. I have no problem.
Of course it is. Of course.
Everything's great.
Same.
Go Mustangs. Okay. But I'm going to...
And Spartans. Go Spartans too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The state schools rule.
Yes.
But I'm going to leave you with this. This is Kyle's last comment as he's walking off the stage was, it's not as black as white as you guys want it to be. And I think that is absolutely definitive of he doesn't know, the training staff doesn't know, the doctors don't know, and Brock needs to figure out how healthy he is. And look, if they don't want him to play in New York because of the surface, this is exactly what you would say. And if it's Mac Jones, and by the way, Mac's fine. He's had this knee bruise for 2 or 3 months. So it didn't look like there was a new injury. I'm sure it's hurting. If there was something alarming where he wasn't practiced, then you would know more about it. So that's not an issue. And it didn't sound like it was going to be. But it's just the thing that stinks is they're halfway into a season where they're paying their franchise quarterback $53 million a year, and you don't have him. And everybody wants to see him because there's no 30 for Purdy, and there hasn't been any 30 without Purdy.